Hey everyone, welcome back to the Fourth Down Fiasco. Before we get started with our regularly scheduled program, we just wanted to give our condolences to Kyrie Jackson's family. Over last weekend, he tragically died in a car accident from a drunk driver. And before we start the show, I wanted to share an article from Dane Brugler. He wrote this on The Beast. Kyrie Jackson grew up outside of Washington, D.C. in Prince George's County. Throughout childhood, he was involved with basketball, football, and track. He qualified for the Junior Olympics as a sprinter. After Jackson attended middle school in Prince George's County, his parents moved into Montgomery County for 8th grade. He attended Silverbrook High School in Silver Spring and played football as a freshman, but he didn't enjoy the fit, as Springbrook was more of a basketball school. Midway through his sophomore year, Jackson returned to Prince George's County and transferred to Dr. Henry A. Wise Jr. High School for the back half of his sophomore year. He was looking forward to playing football as a junior at Wise, but suffered a broken collarbone during 7-on-7 in the summer of 2015 and was ruled ineligible for the 2015 season. Wise then went on to go 14-0 and won the 4A state championship. Jackson returned to the team as a senior, first time playing high school football since his freshman year, and he posted 39 catches for 612 yards and 12 touchdowns, helping Wise to another undefeated 14-0 record and the 2016 4A state title. A no-star recruit, Jackson wasn't ranked by recruiting services in the 2017 class because he didn't play his sophomore and junior seasons. He started to receive Division I interest during his season at Wise, but he didn't have the grades to qualify at that level. He was forced to go on the JUCO route and signed with Arizona Western College in Yuma. However, Jackson found himself homesick. He then left the program before the 2017 season started. He returned home and took a job at Harris Teeter's grocery store in Maryland. Jackson didn't want to play football anymore and trained for video game tournaments. He played 2K as his game of choice. After sitting out the 2017 and 2018 seasons, he received a call from Fort Scott, Kansas Community College head coach. Cale picked who he convinced him to return to football. Jackson saw time on offense and defense at Fort Scott, but he was focused on playing defensive back and finished with 25 tackles and 3 interceptions in 2019. At that point, he finally started to get noticed by FBS programs and transferred to Scuba East Mississippi Community College. This is the JUCO program from Netflix Last Chance U, to land additional exposure. However, the 2020 season was canceled because of the pandemic. However, Jackson was considered a 4-star JUCO recruit and ranked as the number 4 JUCO recruit in the 2021 class. He considered offers from Auburn, Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, LSU, Oklahoma, Oregon, and Tennessee before committing to head coach Saban and Alabama. Jackson was the number 21 recruit in the Tide's 2021 class. He found himself buried on the cornerback depth chart in 2021 and 2022 and was still suspended in the November 2022 season. As a result, Jackson entered the transfer portal. He committed to Oregon over Kentucky. He had a prior relationship with Ducks head coach Dan Lanning from Win Blanding's time as defensive coordinator at Georgia. After one season in Eugene, Jackson opted out of the 2023 bowl game to prepare for the 2024 NFL draft. So Kyrie Jackson had a really unique journey into the NFL, and unfortunately his life was taken away from him 2 months before he was actually able to play the game. So we just wanted to wish our condolences again, and we'll kick it off to the show.
Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? Do you think you're playing football? You are showing me nothing.
Fires, Mike Sims, Walker, knocked down.
All the way back. Auburn's going to win the football game.
In trouble. He's going to be sacked. No, gets away. He runs, gets away again, goes to the 40, gets away again.
Jackson takes it himself. Look at him turn back and forth. Oh, he broke his ankles.
I have never seen this before in my life.
Still looking, firing, near corner. It's caught.
Denver, unbelievable.
Welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco.
Hello and welcome to the Fourth Down Fiasco. I am your host. Yes, you heard me. I am your host for today, Tanner Vinsky, and I am joined by Danny Weber because Jordan Pryor decided that he wanted to go on vacation instead of continue to do the podcast. So everyone don't wish him fun on his vacation. Go bully him. He deserves it. Regardless, we don't have a whole lot going on for today. Besides, we're just going to be looking past the week we just went through, which was week 7. I had to look at it real quick because I already forgot.
Yep.
Already week 7, which is crazy, but we're going to go through week 7, talk about the games, what happened, how the scores were, and then we're also going to review the matchups for week 8, gives our pick'ems, and if we have a little bit of time, we might go over MVP cases, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the Barcelona Dragons because of what occurred during last weekend. So,
yeah,
all right, are we ready for this, Danny?
Yeah, I'll run down the scores real quick like we've been doing. All right. The Vikings take home the Battle of Austria V6 27-19 over the Raiders. The Ravens and Barcelona ended at halftime due to Barcelona just not wanting to play the second half, down 54-0. The Mercenaries and the Birthday Boy get a win as Aiken leads them to their first ever ELF victory for the Mercenaries. That's exciting. The Bravos bounce back after a brutal loss to the Fire to absolutely destroy the Galaxy 46-15. The Thunder show no mercy to the Enthroners as they are still winless as the Thunder defeat them 47-0. Paris continues their role against the Sea Devils, winning 41-18. The Panthers, with their third quarterback of the season, beat the winless Prague Lions 14-3. And the Fire just stomp out the Centurions 62-9 in a lot of
bloodbath.
Yeah, in a bloodbath, and yeah, it's not much else you can say. I thought the 54-0 was going to be the worst, hence that, or given that only ended at halftime. But for the Fire to drop 62, and the Centurions not to forfeit.
Yeah, good for them. They played it out.
That's true.
Well, tell us. I mean, go over Vienna. Vienna. You got to talk your shit.
That's true. Yeah, the main team in Austria. There's not even really a second team when you compare. No, the Raiders are probably still a playoff team. But honestly, this game, Ben Holmes did not need to show off. He was only threw for 157 yards. Leading receiver only had 58 with the offensive rookie of the year. At least that's my campaign, Noah Torre. But the defense absolutely balled out. 3 picks. I think there was a fumble recovery. Yeah, fumble recovery in there. But Ben Straight, 2 picks, and 1 for a pick 6 and 8 tackles. He had himself a day. But
I mean, we've talked about it before. I think there is 2 definitive top defenses in the league, and it's a Vienna and Stuttgart. And I mean, you look at this game, and it honestly starts to make me think that Vienna probably does have the best defense in the league. I mean, they shut down everything Tyrell was trying to do.
Mm-hmm. The Raiders brought in Perry to be the Viking killer, to at least get them 1 win against the Vikings. Yeah. And he went 147, 1 touchdown, and 3 picks.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a very lopsided game. Even though the Raiders had 76 plays compared to 58, had the time of possession, it's like, oof. But they just couldn't get anything going offensively.
You know, if they could have just gotten 1 more drive in the 4th, you know, there could have been a chance they could have tied this up. I mean, they only lost by 8, which credit to them. I mean, the first matchup wasn't even close. I mean, it was a blowout. So the fact that they kept it within 8 to arguably the best team in the league,
that's fair.
I mean, that's a huge testament to their growth through the season. And I don't exactly remember Benatti's stats from the first game, but I don't think he was over 100 with a touchdown. I think he struggled.
Fully remember. What week did they play in?
Week 2, I think, right? Because that was rivalry week.
Yeah, week 2. Yeah, Benatti 16-69.
Yep. So again, that's more, you know, credit. Their running game's clicking better. I mean, they kept it close. They didn't let Vienna just beat the doors off of them. Vienna scored 27 both times. So.
I was just about to bring that up. Same amount of points scored on the one side.
Yeah.
But the Raiders, they have a solid defense themselves, and I didn't get to watch this game fully, and so I don't know if Ben Holmes just struggled. He had a under 50% completion percentage, but didn't have a pick. But it looks like they just relied on the run game most of the time with Kari going 17 of 104 and a touchdown.
I mean, yeah, you had 17 attempts to 31 attempts to passing. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's a pretty good split. That's not too strange. I think really the Raiders defense is pretty good. And I mean, looking at who Vienna has played this season, I mean, Vienna, like the games that Ben has played, he hasn't really gone against a strong defense like this yet this season, right?
Not that I can think of.
Because
the Panthers have their pass defense is brutal. Their run defense is pretty solid. They had to go against the Raiders defense week 2, obviously. The Thunder's defense isn't horrible. Yeah, they did. The Raiders defense is the best defense they've had to face this year.
Yeah, so it makes sense that he's had this was his worst performance of the year, you know.
Well, I was looking at week 2 and it was very similar. He finished with 175, but 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's popping off for those 300-yard games like he is against the bottom tier teams. But,
and I think, again, that also proves to a testament of Tyrol's secondary.
Yeah.
I think they can, because this is a really scary receiving core from Vienna. And, I mean, no one had an insane game. I mean, Toure had a good day, 5 for 58 and a touchdown. I mean, if you had him in fantasy, you're not complaining about that. But everybody else, I mean, Reese only had 3 for 41, 4 for 30 for Kari. I mean, Kari.
Kyrie Irving.
I know, right? It's my basketball brain.
But Kari seemed to carry the game, honestly. 4 receptions, 30 yards. He had over 130 all-purpose yards.
No, yeah. I mean, he did great on the ground, but I think that just shows that Tyrol probably has a better secondary than we might give them credit for.
No, yeah, their secondary has been good. They have the dude out of BG, something Taylor. I forget his name.
No.
But Devin Taylor, I think, maybe. But, I mean, the Raiders aren't a bad team. They for whatever reason in the Austrian Football League, they would beat the Vikings. And they came to the ELF, and I think they hoped that they would continue that success, and it
hasn't happened.
Upside down. They're 0-6.
I'm trying to find a good sports analogy for it. It's kind of like, maybe it's more of like an OSU Michigan type thing, where there was the decades where Michigan was dominant over Ohio State, and you had the decades where Ohio State was dominant over Michigan, and now it seems like Michigan's starting to dominate Ohio State, which is good.
Yeah. Sorry, I know. Any OSU fan?
Yeah, sorry, I couldn't hold that one back. But I mean, it could be something like that. Maybe we're gonna see, in 5 years after Vienna keeps the streak up, Tyrol starts to even the numbers back up. That's usually what happens in a rivalry. So
no, yeah, it's a rivalry for a reason. They go back and forth. But yeah, so that was the last time we'll see them play, unless they play in the playoffs for round 3. But Tyrol, I think, has a brutal schedule coming up, if I'm not mistaken.
It's definitely not easy. I know they play Madrid and Paris twice.
Not Tyrol. You're thinking of someone else.
No, Tyrol, I think, plays.
Tyrol plays the Surge twice and the Ravens once.
Okay.
While playing the Seaman and Helvetic. You're thinking of Frankfurt?
Oh, I am thinking of Frankfurt. Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, I always forget that they're in separate conferences. They're in the Central.
Yeah. Frankfurt has the Fire, the Bravos, and Paris. All one more time each.
I mean, Tyrol's got a playoff spot, though. If they drop Stuttgart and if they drop both Stuttgart and even the Munich one, they got a game against Milano and Helvetic, and they would end? What are they right now? They're 5-2, so they'd be like.
They'd end 7-5.
Yeah, I think that's good enough for a playoff spot. It would be cutting it close, though.
Yeah.
There's 12 games, yeah, so it'd be 7-5.
Yeah, unless Berlin's there, they're at 4-3. If the Raiders only get up to 7, Berlin.
And Berlin probably does have a better schedule.
Oh no, they do not. Holy cow! Paris, Vienna, Paris, Wrocław, Fire.
Yeah, that's going to be tough for them.
at least they're clicking at the right time. Like they're playing good football now, but that is, whew. Maybe the Panthers will come back.
That's an uphill battle.
Yeah, they have a better shot. They actually might finish ahead of the Thunder, to be honest. They have Stuttgart, but then they have Feyenoord.
They got all their hard games out of the way already.
Yeah. But wow, okay. While we get too far ahead of ourselves into the future, the Ravens and Barcelona.
If you haven't read it, I wrote an article about this game that you should check out. And Jordan also did a pod about this game that you should also check out.
You should definitely check out our other stuff regarding this game. But yeah, short story, Barcelona cut their defensive back, who happened to be the son of the head coach, who decided to step down with all the poor management and money and et cetera going on with whatever's going on with the Barcelona Dragons. Players decided to sit out, so they had no A imports. I think they had, I've heard conflicting statements of 1 E import. I've also heard 0 E imports for this entire game against the Munich Ravens. And players were playing hurt.
Yep.
So
it was a mess. It was, and it's brutal that it had to happen in front of their home fans too. I mean, the fact that this was it was in Barcelona is not good.
No. Yeah. Someone brought up the NFL has had 49 folded franchises during their history. And the ELF is at 3 or 2 if you don't count the guards counting as folding. Mm-hmm. But there was a lot of turnover in the beginning of just football history. I've tweeted out before that this is not a good look for the ELF, that teams are folding, but it happens.
Especially with a new league. I mean, it's hard to get all of your ownership right at the very beginning. I mean, even if you look at the NFL does not have their ownership right. I mean, we'll use Jimmy Haslam I've already shit on Ohio State, so let's shit on the Browns, right? We'll just make Ohio upset. But I mean, look at Jimmy Haslam. I mean, he has made some absolutely horrific business decisions for Cleveland. He's employed some genuinely awful people. And he doesn't have the interest of Cleveland in mind. And no matter what he says, you'll never be able to convince me of that, because he's proven that all he cares about is just getting fans in seats. And yes, I know it's a business. That's what it's supposed to be. But these business decisions are going to keep backfiring on him. And if he was like an ELF owner, he wouldn't be an owner. His team would have folded. It would have gone terribly. But the fact that he's in an NFL position, he's got a lot more leeway because that league is established and they don't want the semblance of instability. That's why Dan Snyder took 30 years to get kicked out of his role, despite running the Commanders, Redskins, whatever you want to call them, straight into the ground, Yeah.
And the Browns, the NFL has an established fan base. They know they're pulling in at least 30,000 fans at the lowest, unless you are the Panthers last year pulling in like 25.
I mean, Cleveland has had 2 good seasons since 1994, 5?
0 division titles, 2 playoff appearances, 1 playoff win. Yeah, since we've been alive.
And their stadium's still packed every year, and you meet fans of their team everywhere.
It is crazy. But if he was the owner of the Dragons, that would not work. You can't. There's not a fan base in Barcelona to be like, hey, just come watch this shitty football team.
Yeah, no one. Why would they? Yeah.
But there are fans in Barcelona that are willing to show up. They do have diehard fans from the NFL Europe days and stuff like that still showing up. But in this league, you need to put a product on the field to bring in fans. And from our short time here, we have seen that. The Seamen are not good. They do not bring in fans. The Fire, bring in fans. The Vikings, bring in fans. The bottom tier teams don't, because people don't want to take 4.5 hours out of their day to go watch their team lose. But in the NFL, they do.
Yeah. They need the established teams to be there. And I think a big part of, I mean, we've talked about this before. They have to stop. I know they want that 24 team goal, and they're trying to just bum rush to those 24 teams, but they have to take a step back and take a breath and say, hey, we're going to keep 16 of these teams for a couple of seasons, get them an established fan base. That way, like somebody like Prague, could eventually, maybe in 3 years or so, maybe they actually can compete. And then people are like, oh, actually, I do want to watch American football in Czechia, this is something that I want to do. And you build a better established franchise and you get things going. But if you don't do that and you keep adding expansion teams in, then other teams that have been sitting there, they're losing out talent that they could be getting because you're having to supply other extra teams, and you're going to constantly have teams that are at the bottom of the barrel. You're going to have teams that are going to struggle to recruit, bring people in, get a fan base going, because you're expanding too quickly and you're not allowing teams to actually establish and get a foothold.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is weird to see the expansion history, because when the Vikings won their championship in 2022, I think there were 12 teams. Mm-hmm. And then they went straight to 16. I think there were 10 teams actually that year. And then they went to 16 that offseason. And honestly,
and that's crazy, adding 7 teams in 2 years. That's a lot of expansion.
In 22, they added both Vienna teams, or both Austrian teams.
Wow.
Here, let me see if I can find it real quick. Seasons, maybe? No. No, I don't know if I can find what I'm exactly looking for. But that's okay. But yeah, their expansion has been kind of all over the place. They've haven't kept it consistent. I think if you bring in a team or two a year, it might work. But from going from 10 to 12 to 16 now to 17.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw only one team came in this year and they're doing well. It worked. 2 teams came in 2022 and it worked. The one team won the championship. But
those 2 years in between where they're adding too many teams, it just wasn't.
In 2023, they added the Enthroners, the Guards, the Seamen, the Ravens, the Musketeers, and the Lions. And out of those 6 teams, 2 of them are good.
Yeah. No, that's not great.
No. And in 22, they brought in 4 teams in 22, actually. I was wrong. They brought in the Vikings, the Fire, the Raiders, and the Rams. So the Rams have already folded. That experiment did not work out. But the other 3, 2 of them are champions.
Yep.
So.
But again, I think they just need to slow it down. If they slow it down, they let teams catch their breaths and actually start establishing something. I think 16 teams for a league is a good place to start. I mean, you're having, 6 of those 16 make the playoffs. That's less than half. It feels competitive. You're going to have a lot more, parity having that amount of teams than you would if, you only had 10 or if you had 20. So I know 24 would be good. I think 24 is a really good number for a franchise, but you don't need to reach the finish end this quickly. You can hang out at 16 for a little while and have it going. And I know they're at 17 right now, so it seems bad that I keep saying 16, but it really does seem like Farivar's not going to be here next year. So
who knows?
We'll see.
But how close is Prague and Farivar to each other?
I would assume they're actually a decent amount away, just because you would have to go through Austria, I believe. They might border.
Yeah, you
would have to go through Austria or Slovakia.
So Slovakia, yeah. I'm just kind of thinking, I wonder if you got rid of the Enthroners or Prague, and then allowed them to recruit from the Prague area, Slovakia, and Hungary. Give them those 3 countries, because then you'd have enough talent to field a competitive team.
I think that would be kind of hard. I think Czechia and Hungary are very culturally distinct, and I don't think share a whole lot of similarities. I think you could absolutely make that work for Czechia and Slovakia, because that's like the only example in like world history where a country is split amicably. There wasn't any war or like big referendum. They just kind of were like, hey, what if we just make two different countries? And I'm like, yeah, no, that sounds good. Like,
yeah. I think they can actually recruit through Slovakia.
Can they recruit through Slovakia? Yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
They're very culturally similar and ethnically similar.
Because I'm just thinking, like, if they do bring in like the Nordic team next year, the rumors are they're trying to allow them to recruit all through the Nordic countries, which would make sense.
Yeah, so they would get if they were in Denmark, they would also get Norway, Sweden,
Finland. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so if you were to take away one of the Eastern European countries to just allow them to bring in the homegrowns from Hungary or Czechia, and
they should throw a team in like Bosnia and have them recruit all through the Balkans and see how quickly the like locker room blows each other up, just like let off a powder keg. Especially if you put it in Bosnia, that's gonna piss all the Balkans off. You put it in Bosnia or Albania and you're like, hey, Serbians and Croats, they're not the ones in charge. It has to go to there would be some struggles.
Fair.
Or put it in Kosovo and really piss them off.
Just see how fast they can implode the league.
Yeah. All right, are we ready to move on to?
Yeah, let's talk about a team kind of that we thought was going to implode on themselves and didn't. The Seamen. Well, they did implode, but that's okay. But hey, our boy Carlton Aiken got a win on his birthday.
Finally happened.
And he once again carried his team.
Entire offense.
Yes.
The entirety of it.
His completion percentage, garbage. 10 of 30, 83 yards, but a touchdown to win the game. But his legs, 22 attempts, 115 yards, and the second touchdown.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He is fifth in the league in rushing as a quarterback.
And the best part about that is that just, again, like every time we talk about Milano, it kind of makes me upset because I just hate watching Milano and like they just play so terribly. Just put a QB spy out there. Like, that they're only running through Aiken. I mean, Brown had two. That's not even a running back. That's their wide receiver. Like,
oh, good.
I guess Gygax is their running back, and he was 1 for -1. Like, come on now. Like, just put a QB spy out there. And I get that Carlton, he's athletic, and he's probably one of the better QBs perform like athletic wise in the league. He might not be one of the best like to process the game or make reads, but he definitely is one of the more athletically gifted QBs in the league. But if you put a QB spy on that whole offense falls apart.
Oh, definitely.
And they're just not doing it. And it's like, well, no wonder you lose. Like, you just had to stop one thing and they couldn't do it.
No, yeah. I would like to see like Aiken, like put him on the Raiders or something like that and just see how he does with a competent team. But no, yeah, the Mercenaries just parted ways with their head coach due to personal reasons. And they put their DC as their interim head coach and brought in Aiken's former offensive coordinator to the team. And we heard from Aiken their entire playbook was 4 verts and a QB draw going into this season. So I'm very excited to see what they decide to draw up in the next coming weeks.
Yeah, it should be much better than what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if they give him an O-line, better play calling, maybe another import receiver or something, that defense is already pretty good.
Their defense is top tier, and they promoted their DC for a reason.
Yep.
But no, yeah, for their game plan to be a QB draw and 4 verts the entire season, I'm not shocked they're 1-5. Well, I'm shocked they're not 0-6. But
I am shocked that Milano didn't win this one. I don't have a lot of stock in Milano. I think Milano's terrible, but
they should have won.
How did they lose? Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. And in our pick'ems, Jordan is only 1 game behind you now. Because
he's
the
catching up.
Mercenaries win. He has. We have been so safe with our picks, we've allowed him to catch up.
Yep.
because we can't.
I'm already looking at the games for next week. We won't get into it until we get there, but
No,
I am
yeah.
going to go. I am going to go weird on one pick.
I think I already made my pick'ems, but I'm thinking I'm going weird too, so it'll be fine.
I hope it's the same one. I hope it's the same one we go weird on.
I'm praying. All right. Team that we were definite sure that they were going to win, but the owner was calm and collected, saying, let's not get ahead of ourselves. The Bravos over the Galaxy. The Bravos said, we are not faltering twice in 2 weeks, and we're going to stomp the living crap out of the Galaxy.
So remember what I was saying about the Bravos having one weakness, and that was their run defense, and that Frankfurt can't run the ball? Well, guess what? That's what we saw.
Yeah, 15 attempts for 70 yards.
Yeah.
Not good.
So, I mean, they tried. I mean, they get what? We got 15 attempts there, 7-5. So we got 27-9, 32 attempts on the ground. Mm-hmm. They tried. They gave it their best shot to run the ball, but they just could not do it.
Well, this game started really weird, and I don't know. The head coach came out and kind of talked about why. The Galaxy started their backup in the first half.
Yeah.
And they were saying because Zaradka was struggling with an off throwing shoulder injury, and he was just not 100%. And then obviously being down 23-9 at halftime, you're like, we got to make some type of change. They threw him out there, and now they're starting a new quarterback this week because he's on IR.
Yep. So terrible mismanagement there.
Yeah. But, I mean, the Galaxy, they needed to do something. Like, they're sitting in the brutal Western Conference at 2-2 going into this game. They needed a win. And I'm glad we're not in the Western Conference. At least I'm not in the Western Conference.
What are you talking about, man? My team's there.
Yeah, I was thinking
my team's in the trenches right now.
No, yeah. Hey, you're somehow 4-1 and in third place.
I
know. But let's go back to the Eastern Conference since I'm talking about it. Berlin Enthroners. Unless you had more to say about the Bravos.
No, I mean, I said it. I think the Bravos are a lot better than people are giving them credit for, and we saw it here. And I don't think this team misses the playoffs. I think they get a spot. And if you haven't watched their interview with their owner,
go check that out.
Watch the interview. Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know why some people are doubting the Bravos after one game to the Fire, who were the defending champions.
Yeah, especially when they beat the especially when they beat the Fire once. It's like split the series.
It's like, okay,
that's much better than they should have done. So
no, yeah, I will say I'm really looking forward to them playing Paris. That should be those should be really good games.
Yeah.
But yeah, this week we'll get into it, but I think they have a bye week. But Enthroners, quarterback had 15 passing yards. That's good.
That's crazy.
Yeah, Enthroners.
That is unreal.
Oh, no, that's a lie. Because their receivers went 26-19. So he had 45 passing yards.
Yeah, I was about to say, there's no way he had 8 completions for 15. I was
he did have 8 completions, but he had 45 yards.
There's no chance. Like, he just, oh man.
No, but these could be wrong. We've been called out twice this week on Jordan's graphics that he made for the MVP race that the stats he pulled off of Sports Metrics were incorrect. The players themselves commented on them.
Yep.
So, but with how they played, I can imagine that. 4 first downs. So before we get to the Fire, the Enthroners had as many first downs as the Fire had third downs in their game.
Wow.
Yes. The Fire had 4. They were only on third down 4 times in their game.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But before we get to the Fire, let's talk about Paris, who we are both high on. Good thing Jordan's not here because he would just be mad the whole time we talk about this team. Sorry, Jordan.
No, Paris is good.
Paris is looking good. Zach Edwards, first quarterback to hit 10,000 yards and 100 passing touchdowns in the ELF.
Shout out to him.
Shout out to the white guy. But Zach Edwards kind of carried this team. yes, on Sunday. 213, 3 touchdowns in the air, 47 yards on the ground, 2 more touchdowns.
No, and it shows more to what we thought about Hamburg. Hamburg's just not able to compete with these top 10 teams, but at least they put up 18. At least they tried.
That's true.
It's better than what a lot of the other teams did this week.
That is true. But
they also replaced their quarterback, right?
Hamburg is bringing in a new quarterback. So we'll see how he can play. I forget who it is, but I think it's the D1 guy.
That's right, yeah. So we'll see.
His name. But they need to do something. People that we follow on Twitter are not high of teams switching quarterbacks mid-season. But if you're Hamburg in the Western Conference sitting at 2-3, what do you have to lose? Bring in a new quarterback.
Yeah,
try to see what happens.
I don't hate the switch for Hamburg. I forget Hamburg's quarterback.
Javari Smith or something like that.
Yeah, Javari Smith. Javari Smith hasn't done a lot this year, and Hamburg seems to have at least an okay roster that I think it makes sense that you would want to switch off of it. A lot of the other QB moves we've seen thus far this season, I have not really been chill with. I don't think a lot of those were the right call. But I think in this scenario, I think this was logical. I don't think this was hitting the panic button. I don't think Hamburg was ever going to really get into a playoff contention, so you might as well try something else to see if it works.
Yeah, see if you find your quarterback for next year.
Yeah.
Get a little recruiting statement, be like, hey, come play for this guy who put up 20 touchdowns in 5 games last year. And I think they're kind of basing it off of what the Panthers have done this year with their now third quarterback.
Yep.
Who they brought back, another former Panther quarterback. They just
keep cycling through them. One of them's going to work.
History repeats itself, I guess, if you keep playing the same quarterbacks over and over again. But he didn't have the best game, yet he came in on like a Wednesday. So,
yeah.
But Panthers defense, solid. Prague's offense, garbage.
Yeah, it is a bad look that it was 14-3. Like, I know that you're on another quarterback. There's some learning pains. I mean, you got to be blowing out Prague. Like,
yeah, but Prague has a solid defense. They don't have the best defense, but it's not a horrible defense. But this was just a very defensive battle the whole way. I mean, yeah. There weren't a lot of plays really either. There were less than 100 total plays this game. They both averaged less than 3.5 yards a play. It's like their third down efficiency is garbage. 4 of 12 and 3 of 12.
Yep.
It's like good on the defense. Old school football.
Yeah, there you go.
This was old school football. But no, I'll be curious to see how Matt Vitale plays the next coming weeks. Because, I mean, they're not out of playoff contention. Like, if they win out, they could make a playoff spot.
No, definitely. And I think it also is good because I'm pretty sure they get a bye next week. So I think they'll get some time for Vitale.
They have a week 9 bye. They have a bye and then they go to Surge. But besides the Surge, they could win out. And Throners, Berlin, Frankfurt, and Prague again.
Yeah, that's a favorable schedule.
And that week 12 could decide the second place of the Eastern Conference, especially with Berlin's upcoming schedule.
Yep.
But Prague, they might get a win next week.
They might.
They're playing the Enthroners. We'll get to that. But do we have anything to say about the Fire besides that Cologne is garbage?
I've been calling it. I've been saying it since the beginning that I've never been high on Cologne, and this proves further why I've never been high on Cologne. Again, their quarterback being their highest rusher, which is pretty funny because they give 31 attempts to Amlin. 31.
Oh, switch it up if he's averaging like 2 yards a carry.
I know. Yeah, like that's ridiculous. 31 attempts to him.
Bro.
No, I don't have a lot for Cologne. I don't think they were ever really going to compete with the top guys.
No, they weren't.
And we've been talking about them being a first half team, but when they play a team as good as Rhine, they're not going to be a first half team against Rhine.
Well, they were the first game, but they were still down 12 in the first half. The first time they played, not this time. They were down 27-3. Yeah. But I think it's hard. Cologne, they're stuck in the middle of just all those good German teams, like all the top tier German teams in this league. The Fire, the Surge, Berlin. You have to bring in, like, Munich did a good thing. They're not in that area, but like they brought in Joe Thomas. Like they brought in an NFL guy and was like, this is our recruiting tactic.
Oh yeah, because Cologne's on like the western part of Germany.
Yeah, they're north. Yeah,
like
they're all
those guys.
Mm-hmm. They're all next to like Hamburg, Frankfurt, Rhine, Stuttgart, and then Cologne. It's like you need to do something to make yourself attractive.
Yeah,
like bring in a top tier head coach to be like, dude, just go out and recruit all the backups from all the teams, and those backups will probably be better than your starters. And bring in a good A quarterback. Come on, there's enough A quarterbacks out there.
Yeah, you should just be bringing in somebody.
But on the Fire side, shocking, Tunga was not the leading rusher for this team. He only had 116 yards.
Yeah, but he might have had 4 touchdowns.
But no, Kendis, 10 of 150 and a touchdown. Tungo, 17 of 116 and 4 tutties. And then McKnight, 2 for 106.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
3 rushers for over 100 yards, counting for 5 touchdowns.
They had 419 rushing yards this game.
That is brutal.
Yeah, just ran it all over Cologne.
Hey, their backup quarterback's better than Jadrian Clark. Clip it.
Yeah.
4 for 4 of 93 and 2. 7 of 9, 96 and 2.
They only had 11 completions too. They just didn't even need to throw the ball.
Might as well just hand the ball off. Yeah. But I would have liked to see them give Kendis more reps just to see if he could cross that 200 mark.
I wonder if Kendis is going to get poached by somebody. I wonder if somebody's going to bring him in and be like, hey, we can have you be RB1 on a different team, because he's good. Yeah.
But we were talking about Frankfurt. They need a running back.
Yeah, get Kendis.
Take Kendis. But no, that was week 7. Not a lot of close games, except for the Mercenaries. And I guess the Vikings-Raiders game was tied at halftime.
We got 2 this week. It was better than the one we had the week before that.
Jeez Louise. Yeah. But
all right, cool. Yeah, well let's kick it to commercial. We'll be back in a couple of minutes and then we'll do pick'ems.
Picture this. You're the proud owner of a business and you've got it all. The hustle, the bustle, and the occasional office kitchen mishap that turns into an alarm-triggering emergency.
Oh!
But fear not. Western States Fire Protection is here to turn your workplace into a disaster-free zone. Our in-house team handles everything from fire sprinklers to alarms and monitoring, inspections, extinguishers, and more.
Whew. Crisis averted. Thanks, Western States Fire Protection.
No problem. We've been protecting lives and property since 1985, and we take our job seriously, even when your employees don't.
Oh no, not again.
Visit WSFP.com to request a quote. Because when your microwave thinks it's a flamethrower, we're the heroes you need.
All right, welcome back to the 4th Down Fiasco. We are going to be moving into our Week 8 segment where we're going to be picking the games for next week, and hopefully I'll gain some ground on Danny. So
the one game, and Jordan is caught up to Tanner. He's 2 behind me, 1 behind Tanner. But I think we could pick Jordan's picks for him, right? I don't think he'd care.
Yeah, I would like to. I would like to just completely tank it for him, but
yeah, we'll pick Jordan's picks for him. We'll think inside his mind.
Just everybody add him on Twitter while he's on vacation and telling him to send his pick'ems to Danny. He'll like that. So
just send him. I need his pick'ems so Tell them to send them my way. But we'll start with the battle of the winless. Prague and Farivar.
Hey, we do know who Jordan would pick for this one. He's been trying to pick Verivar all year.
He's going Farivar in this game. He's going Farivar. I'm not either.
I'm not. I think Prague's way better than Verivar. Prague looked competitive against Wrocław. Verivar has never looked competitive. Even when they lost to Milano, they didn't look that competitive.
Yeah, no, they just are not good. Not good at all. They've lost 43-18, 35-10, 43-3, 44-12, 19-14, and then 47-0.
Yeah.
So
no, I don't see the world where they pulled this one off. Which is, hey, we were saying it all year. Like, Prague has had a brutal schedule. They need to just start getting some of the bottom tier teams to play against, like Milano has.
Yeah, they really haven't had that easy of a schedule. I mean, we talked down on Hamburg, but
Hamburg's better than them. And they also almost came back against Hamburg.
They lost to Hamburg twice, both by 10. They scored 21 and 17 against Hamburg.
Yeah.
And so, and then they lost a little bit to the Panthers, and then they've got blown out the rest of their games. But those are against better
really
teams.
Yeah.
But so against the bottom tier teams, I'm assuming they can put up more than 21 points. If you did it against Hamburg, you can do it against the Enthroned.
Poor Prague, though. Like, they really only, after this, they only have one more easy game. After they go against Verivar, they play Vienna, then they play Munich, and then they play Verivar again, and then they end the year off in Wrocław.
Yeah.
So
it's funny we say the Eastern Conference is easy, but only for like two teams.
Yep.
And then like the Panthers, Farivar, and Prague are like, oh, that's a brutal conference for them. But that's any conference is brutal. So yeah, Jordan's going Enthroners. We're both going Prague.
Yep, sounds about right.
All right, this is the game Jordan could catch you.
Oh, for if he picks, if he gets Farivar right. Yeah.
All right.
Well, we'll see what he actually does. We don't know what he'll do. He might shock us, but
that's true.
I have a feeling he's
going Farivar.
Yeah.
But I think we can all agree on the next one: Cologne versus Frankfurt. They do have a new quarterback coming in, but it's Cologne. I'm going Frankfurt.
I am as well. This is one that you can make an argument for, though. These guys are both in the same tier. But I think Frankfurt's a step above Cologne. I just don't have a lot of faith in Cologne, really, outside of their running game. I think Amlin's pretty good, but even then he had a really rough game last week. Yeah. And I think Frankfurt, they really struggle running the ball, but I think they're pretty good in every other department. I think they have a pretty good defense. I think they have I like Sabaraka when he plays.
They have Markel Castle, the number one wide receiver in the league.
Yep.
So, I mean, they can – I can't imagine the DBs in Cologne being very good, especially not being able to guard Castle.
Yeah.
So, they're just going to throw it down their throat. Like, they don't have to run it. They just can throw the ball 70 times. The quarterback's fresh. Just give him a couple post routes and a couple streaks and let him cook.
Yep.
But so we're all going Frankfurt and Frankfurt. That should be a good one in front of their home crowd. Then another one next week. The Vikings are at home against the Mercenaries, who have gone through a lot of changes this week, like we've talked about.
It's a shame they're doing all these changes right before Vienna, because I think you could make an argument if they were playing one of like the middle of the pack teams or the bottom teams, you'd be like, you know what? All these changes, I bet Helvetic might, they could probably win this game. I don't think they're going to beat Vienna. I don't think it's going to be particularly close, but I think it's going to be closer than it would have been if they would have kept going the way they were. I think instead of this being like a horrific blowout, maybe it's only like a 2-3 score loss.
Yeah, I was messaging Aiken, and I was like, I'll be curious to see how your offense looks in the next couple weeks, especially because you're going into Vienna this week, because their OC doesn't arrive till tomorrow, and it's already Wednesday. And he's like, that's true. He's like, however, what do I have to lose? He's like, I just want to go be a party pooper. Like, I just want to go spoil people's parties now. He's like, I just want to go ball.
Yep.
I forget exactly
I would love to see
what
it.
Said. Let's see
I know you would hate to see it, but I would love to see it.
Honestly, if they lost to Helvetic, I wouldn't even be mad just because we're buddies with Aiken. He said, honestly, we have nothing to lose, so I'm going to go in all these big games trying to mess somebody's day up.
There we go.
Might as well.
Love to hear it.
But I think we all are picking Vienna.
Yeah, I think so too. It's a shame because I think if they were playing someone like Berlin, which Berlin is, kind of the top end of those middle teams, you could convince me this week to pick Helvetic over Berlin, just saying, you know what, they got a new OC, they got a new coach, let's see what they can do.
I don't know if I'd go as high as Berlin just because the way they're rolling. But if you give me like Munich, Wroclaw, Munich, or maybe Raiders, Munich, or Wroclaw, they could pull up that upset out of those top teams. But they're not. I don't think they'd beat Berlin, Vienna, or any of the top teams out of the Western Conference.
Yeah, I guess I can see
Stuttgart. Yeah, the Panthers are just, or not Panthers. Berlin just have started looking nice.
Yeah, and
finding their footing.
And we'll see what happens with Helvetic. I mean, we're definitely speaking very prematurely here, but I think it's just a good sign that they're making some changes in that locker room to ensure that the product's going to be better.
Yeah, I mean, this is their owners. Their new owners came in 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, and
they got a new head coach, brought a new OC, brought in new players who made big plays last week for them with Trey Webb coming in and their other defensive back, who I forget his name. But if they keep trending in the right direction, I'd be excited to see them next year because Aiken is very excited about what they're doing. So if he's excited and he's in there, we can be excited, right? That's not wrong. But all right, to the El Clasico V2. Is Jordan taking Barcelona?
I would be amazed if he took Barcelona for this one. I do like what Barcelona said. I like that they're opening the stadium up for anybody just to come watch. I like that they're actually committing to playing the rest of the season. They're going to get it done. But this is not going to be a pretty game.
No, it's going to be brutal. Hopefully Madrid doesn't... I don't think what the Ravens did last week was wrong, putting up 52 in the first half. I did see some tweets that are like, "Oh, that's unsportsmanlike." I was like, "That's professional football. Not. They're getting paid to play." Like,
I also don't think you can say that after what Kendrell Ellison did at the end of the game.
No, yeah, not at all. I'm not dissing the Ravens whatsoever, but I feel like if the Bravos get up by like 40 before halftime, they'll throw in their backup right away and just kind of sit Obi, Duncan, and everyone else they have. So it's not going to be a game. It's not going to be close. So congrats to you for winning this one, Tanner.
Hey, let's hope.
You guys might be able to jump up to number 2 in the standings this week in the Western Conference. Because Paris plays Berlin. I know you're not high on Berlin, but we're both high on Paris.
Yeah.
But this should be a really good game. Both two high-powered offenses with solid defenses. I feel like, though, if it was in Berlin would win. But I think since it's in Paris, I'm going to go Paris.
I'm not as high on Berlin, so I think Paris would have won this game regardless, and I'm still obviously picking Paris. But I hope it's going to be close. My gut instinct says it's not going to be, but Berlin does have one of the better offenses in the league, so I think as long as they can get they can get clicking, I think they could keep this within 1 to 2 scores, and I hope so. I would like to see a close game. There's been a lot of blowouts, so.
No, yeah, I liked it. I liked this to be like a 40-38 game, like Berlin had week 1. Berlin has put up the most points in the league, 255 points.
No, they're slinging that thing.
The second most is Fire at 231. And Paris only has 181, but they do have 2 less games. But I don't know if they catch up to 255 in those 2 less games.
Yeah, absolutely.
I really don't know who Jordan would go here. I feel like he'd pick Berlin, to be honest. I don't know. Just because he hates Paris.
He does hate Paris.
Yeah. Have we already got to the game that you went different on?
Nope.
Is it the Surge Raiders game?
Well, we're not there yet. We're on Ryan.
I know.
Hamburg.
All right, Ryan Hamburg. Who are you taking? And how many yards is Tunga going to run for?
It's definitely going to be Ryan. I think Hamburg will look more competitive than Cologne just did, though.
No,
I think. I still see it being a blowout. I see this being like a 48 to like 23 game or something like that. I can see that easily happening. But I think Hamburg will at least score some points. I don't think they're rushing for 419 yards on the ground.
If they did, I don't know what would happen.
Yeah. But I don't see Hamburg winning this game. They just don't have the strongest offense to do it.
They brought a new quarterback in.
We'll see.
Our boy D'Angelo Fulford back again after he got about week 2.
Which I'm glad he's getting another opportunity. I know we said after he got cut by Tyrell that he didn't seem like he deserved to get cut. So I'm glad he's getting an opportunity again.
Yeah, I'll be curious to see how he does play. It just sucks that he has to go against the Fire week, the first week he's back.
Yeah, that's a little unfortunate.
But I'm trying to find it here. This game is is their staple game of the year, and I might be lying, but I think there's going to be like 30,000 fans here.
Wow, really?
It's one of their bigger games of the year. Or no, okay. So on the 17th of June, they already sold over 15,000 tickets. And I haven't seen an update since.
Well, these are the two biggest fan bases, right?
Yes. But once a year, I think they play at this Volkspark Stadium. And it's their like staple game, which I think it's because it's Hamburg Fire. It's a big rivalry.
Nice.
So it's going to be a lot of people. So should be a good game.
Love to hear it.
Yeah. A lot of them probably will be Fire fan, but that's okay. But good for the league.
A lot of happy people in the stadium then.
Yeah, seriously. And if there's beer sold, Hamburg fans will be happy. But all right. We haven't got to your weird game yet, but let's do it now. Sir,
well, you said you had one too.
I thought you were going to go on Throners. Mine was picking the Lions.
That was your weird game? Was picking...
Yeah. Well, no. I was debating back and forth picking the Thunder for a while.
Oh, okay.
And I can't remember if I did. I already filled out my graphic, so I could be like contradicting myself in my graphic, but I don't have it pulled up. But yeah, I
was about to say, I was like, it looks like we're both picking Tyrell here, but...
No, I'm not going Tyrell here.
Okay. I am, though. And the reason why I'm going to go Tyrell, which one is because we haven't differed, and I think it's about time for an upset to happen. An upset really hasn't occurred yet.
That's fair.
Tyrell kept it within 8 against Vienna, and they played really well, and Perry threw 3 interceptions. I think if Perry can be more careful with the ball against Stuttgart, there is a world where Tyrell wins this game, especially with it being in Tyrell.
Yeah, you're not wrong. Like I can see the Raiders upsetting Stuttgart here.
I think Jordan's going to catch up with me this week.
You might overtake you.
No, it's Verivar's not winning. I'm confident about that. But I could see us being tied after this because most likely Stuttgart is going to win this game. But I'm going to pick Tyrell with it being in Tyrell and just how competitive they kept it against Vienna. Bonatti has been running that thing. He's been looking great. And I think as long as Perry plays careful football and they can get in control of the clock early, although Stuttgart's got one of the best offenses in the league, this is one of those times where I think one of those top teams could drop a game. So.
No, yeah. This should be a very exciting game. Like the Surge are coming off a bye week. They haven't really played anyone this year. They've played They've played the Ravens twice, the Panthers, the Seamen, and the Mercenaries. And the second time they played the Ravens, It was a close game. The scorebook shows they won by 16, but like it was a close game.
Yeah.
And the Raiders are better than Munich.
They are.
And I don't know how much altitude affects the players out there. Like I know in the NFL, coming up to Denver, players struggle.
It's tough. Yeah.
And you're going up almost twice the amount of Denver to Tyrol. Like I don't know how that's going to affect Stuttgart. So I could see an upset here. I think Stuttgart is just out for revenge from last year, just for the season as a whole, and they're just going on a tear. But I think later in the season that'll catch up to them. So maybe when they play Tyrol again is when the upset will happen, because they've used their 2 bye weeks already.
So they're gonna be pretty tired by the end of the year.
Yeah, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They're playing 7 straight games into the playoffs, and week 12 is the next Tyrol game.
And I know maybe with disparity in this league, it might not be that hard to go undefeated as compared to other leagues, but I feel like it's always hard to go undefeated in a league, you know?
Yeah, I mean, last year's winner went undefeated. The year before it did not. The Vikings were 10-2 going into that season. Year 1, Frankfurt was not undefeated. They lost to the Sea Devils.
So Ryan's the only one who's done it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard to go undefeated. And when I look at Stuttgart's schedule, I think this is their toughest test. Stuttgart does not have any hard games past this.
No.
Besides Tyrol again.
Yeah, they have Panthers, the shell of Barcelona twice, the Seamen, and hey, maybe Helvetic by the end of the season figures out a fire offensive scheme and just upsets them going into the playoffs.
That would be cool.
That'd be absurd.
I don't see it, but
I don't say it.
Cool. No, I think this is the only game on Stuttgart's schedule that I think they could drop. So I'm going to pick it, and I'm probably going to regret it. Especially if Verifar somehow pulls out the miracle and beats Prague, then I'm in last place. But you know, we can't keep picking the same teams every year.
No, I'll go different. We'll both go different. I think with how turnover prone Zach Edwards is, playing against Kyle Kitchens, who is the leader in sacks, he gets after the quarterback. I'll switch to Berlin. We'll make it a little different. Yeah. So neither of us pick Farivar. We both pick Prague, but I'm going Thunder. You're going Tyrol. So we both have a game that we're picking an underdog to see if maybe you jump up twice. Maybe you jump ahead of me.
Yeah, it could happen.
Maybe you get the upset. But yeah. There's our pick'ems. Let us know what your pick'ems are. I know the ELF does this show every Thursday as well, after ours gets released, so ours are officially first.
You should be watching ours anyways. So
No, yeah. Don't go listen to Nick. He only runs the ELF show.
Well, we pretty much did it for here today. I don't know what I was about to say, but I think we're good to wrap up, unless you got any last things you want to say to the people.
Do we want to list our top 3 mid-season MVP real quick? We don't have to give an explanation, but just top 3.
Yes. Let me try to remember who my top 3 were.
If you pull up Jordan's thing, he has all the nominees up there.
Yes. Okay, cool. Let me pull that up real quick.
Yeah.
And let's
just scroll to the bottom. I'll say mine real quick while you pull yours up.
Yep.
So on Jordan's post, you need to go find that on our website. He did a midseason MVP case. He put 8 candidates, a couple dark horses in there. But I'll list his 8 real quick for the people that did not go read. No, I'll list 4. You guys can figure out the other 4 if you go read it. But his top 4, Tunga, Hennessy, Edwards, Sullivan. So he is not a defensive homeboy. He does not like defensive MVPs, it looks like. But my top 3 MVP candidates so far this year, I think are just going to be honestly the same as him, because Tunga has won fire their last couple games. He has to be number 1. Hennessy starting off perfect with 10 touchdowns before he threw a pick. His team's undefeated. He's number 2. And Zach Edwards is absolutely balling out. 19 total touchdowns. And Sullivan's up there, but his team's not winning. I mean, actually, they have the same amount of wins as Paris, but Paris has 2 less games played. So, yeah, I like Tunga, Hennessy, Edwards. And if Holmes didn't get hurt, honestly, I've had him up there because he's only 400 yards away from being like the leading passer in the ELF, and he missed 3 games.
Which is pretty impressive.
Which is insane. And that includes the 2 weeks that he had 150 and 170.
Yeah, I mean,
like,
the weeks he's
the
played
2
well.
other games he played, crazy.
Yeah.
So he can't be up there yet, even though everyone knows I'm a big MVP kind of guy.
All right, well, for my 3, ours are pretty similar, but I have somebody traded at the end. I have Tunga at 1, which I think most people probably have Tunga at 1 at this point. Then I have Hennessy at 2 for being the best quarterback statistically in the league. And then I actually have Sullivan at 3, despite his record being poor. Yeah, I mean, he's slinging it, man. I mean, like, it's insane the numbers he's producing at this stage of the season.
No, yeah. I honestly, Edwards and Sullivan, you can swap.
I think so, too.
Like there's Hennessy in the quarterback spot, and then afterwards you have Edwards, Sullivan, Holmes for the next 3 quarterbacks there. And what other quarterbacks? Are we missing one? Not really. None MVP contention. Yeah. Edwards, Hennessy, Holmes. Yeah. Sullivan. So, yeah. I'll be curious to see how the end of this year plays out with the MVP race. Because honestly, the top isn't close right now with Tunga just kind of running away. He has almost 300 yards more than any other player, which is.
But he has a bad game or 2.
No, yeah.
Then things could get interesting.
Even then, but like second place is Bonatti with 660, and Tunga's sitting there at 974 through 7 games.
That's so crazy.
He's averaging 6 yards a carry. However, Aiken, our boy, 516, averaging 6.7 yards a carry.
That freaking quarterback. That's so funny.
He only has 77 attempts. Wow, that's crazy. Kendis, where's he at? Has 30 attempts for 330 yards. Wow. 11 yards a carry. Crazy. But also, Tunga's 16 touchdowns compared to Bonatti's 9, who is the closest to him. Like, he is just head and shoulders above everyone.
Yeah, he's head and shoulders above everybody else.
But, yeah. So, yeah, there's our mid-season MVP. Let us know what yours are. I'm curious, actually, to see.
Go read the rest of the article. Just going to see other picks, too.
Go read our articles. We're in the work to post elsewhere as well, so stay tuned for that information. Shout out Alex for that. He knows what we're talking about. But yeah, so stay tuned for some fun stuff.
Thank you all for watching. And again, follow us on all our social media. On Twitter, it's _fourthdown_pod. And then on everything else, it's going to be Fourth Down Fiasco, which is going to be our YouTube and our Instagram. Also our TikTok. I haven't been posted down there in a minute, but we also have the TikTok. But regardless, we got those 4 social media platforms. Oh my God, I can't speak today. That was a struggle. Okay. And then we also have our website, which again, you'll be able to find links through if you go to any of our other pages. But thank you for watching, and also make sure to go check out all the content we shouted out because we've been working like dogs. So
yes, all of our exclusive interviews will go on our YouTube channel. Go check out the Bravos owner GM if you have not watched that yet. And if you're listening to this podcast, give us 5 stars on Apple Podcasts and Spotify because it's greatly appreciated because we love you all.
Yep. Hugs and kisses. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Perfect.
Nice.
All right. Pam.
Well, I like school, and I like football, and I'm gonna keep doing them both because they make me feel good.
Are you looking for a podcast to advertise your business? Well, you're in luck. Here at the Fourth Down Fiasco, we're looking for show sponsors. Whether you want to be a platinum sponsor and be mentioned at the beginning and end of every episode, or you just want a simple 30 or 60-second ad, we got you covered. If you're interested in having a spot on our show, you can reach us at fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. That's fourthdownfiasco@gmail.com. We are excited to hear from you and even more excited to have you on the show. Join the Fiasco family now.